Hey guys, so today's video I'll be going over all my vehicles and artillery pieces and all that great stuff. So I have 9 tanks in total and 5 artillery pieces in total. I have 4 German tanks and 4 German artillery, and then I have 5 Allied tanks and 1 Allied artillery. So let's just hop right into it, I guess. So I'm starting with my first tank, which was one of my favorites. So this is the M18 Hellcat. It's an American tank destroyer, relatively late war. It was an open top design, and one of my favorite ways to display it is actually with the troops in the top. So you can see he's holding a shell, if you guys can see that. And there's a toolbox on the side. This is a Battle Bricks Customs kit, which is relatively cheap, so I'm happy about that. I have all the features of it. The canvas cover, which didn't include it, and then a better looking gun, because the one it came with was, kind of messy looking, to say the least. So I really like this tank, especially considering generically all you really think about when you think of Allied tanks is a Sherman. It's just nice to know that they actually had heavy hitters like tank destroyers like the M18. And yeah, so on to my next tank, which is actually also another one of my favorites. This is the M3 Lee. So this was a medium tank used in North Africa and Italy by the British and Americans. It's an American-built tank, and we gave it to the British. It has a tiny little turret up there sporting a 40mm anti-tank gun, and then you can see the bigger gun, which is the 75mm in here. In real life, we'd be able to go back and forth, but mine is only able to traverse up and down, which is rather unfortunate, but I still enjoy it. Then you can see all the equipment on the back, because I do like to pack my tanks with a fair amount of equipment. I do think it looks really nice, especially since I just updated this one a couple days ago, and yeah, I really like it. So on to my next Allied tank is one of my Shermans. Now I have 2 Shermans. I guess I'll just put both of them on screen together because, why not? It'll save time. Yeah, each of them have different equipment on the back. That's the only really reason I can distinguish them. I updated the turrets because these were both, or actually only one of them was a Battle Brick custom kit. The other one I bought, and I just bought the stickers separately. But yeah, so I packed these up with equipment because really without equipment they just look quite bare. Like I said, I reverse engineered, I believe, this one off of Battle Brick Custom instructions. And I think they look nice. It's nice to have 2 Shermans, especially considering in real life the vast quantity that were built in the first place. These aren't, as traversable as my M3. The turrets can go back and forth, although since there's gear on the back of them, they can't go back and forth that much. Turret can't really, or the main gun, I'm sorry. Main gun can't really go up or down. The hatches can open, and that's really about it. I still think they look nice. And yeah, so I'll get these out of here. I have one more Allied tank, which is actually kind of uncommon. If I can get this out. So this is my French R35. It's a French light tank. And I just built this very recently as well. They were used in the very beginning of World War II. They were actually quite superior to German tanks in a lot of ways. I believe it sports a 37mm anti-tank gun on the front. And yeah, you can see there's a trench sled in the back, which would help it cross larger trenches because it is a pretty small tank, actually. You can see this little hatch up here where the commander could look out. And the turret does go, can traverse. The gun, unfortunately, cannot. And the suspension, I think, looks quite nice. And that does it for my Allied tanks. Now I have one Allied artillery piece that I'll grab real quick. This is a 37mm anti-tank gun. Not really much to say. It's actually quite a simple build. Yeah. By mid to late war, this thing really wasn't that powerful anymore. Early war, it was actually pretty good, considering the armor wasn't that heavy back in 1939, 1940. Like 1942, 1943 really started to show its age, but and up to that point, it really was quite a good anti-tank gun, so it's nice to have some Allied artillery, even though I do have way more German artillery now. On to my German tanks, I suppose I'll start with my favorite. So this is my Stug 3F. I used to have this in a camouflage color scheme, but I did update it to gray because I think gray looked much better. You can see on the back it had just spare road wheels. Oh, I know, a little bit of history about the Stug. The Stug 3 was originally, in like the beginning of the war, fitted with like a high explosive gun, which would just be for like taking out fortifications and trenches. And I mean, really, when you're blitzkrieging, you don't really need that as much. So later in the war, they fitted it with a much larger gun and used it for anti-tank purposes. So it practically became a tank killer. And yeah. See, I have a decal on the side that's actually kind of starting to peel off a little bit. You can see all the gear on the back. I really like this tank. It's actually one of my favorite tanks of World War II, even though it's technically not a tank, it's an assault gun. And I'm really finally happy to have like a standard looking one, not like a camouflage one, because with a dark gray one, I can actually just put a smaller gun on there and slightly modify the sides of it, and have it be like an early war one, as opposed to the camouflage one where that was primarily the late war one. So I'll take that out of here, and then I'll go grab another one. So this is my late war Panzer IV. So same as the Stug 3. Early war would have like a high explosive, low velocity gun, which really wasn't all that useful when they ran into French and Russian tanks later on. So later in the war, they were fitted with a very large 75mm gun. And this gun can actually traverse up and down. The turret can go side to side. And I think it looks nice. This is also a Battle Brick custom kit. Originally, the Battle Brick custom kit was a Panzer III, but I modified the turret and most of the chassis to become more of like a Panzer IV looking thing. I actually really like this one because it's really, like, besides the Tiger, one of like the heaviest hitting tanks of the late war. And a lot of people overlook them because, you know, they just think, oh, the Tiger, but I still do have a lot of love out there for the Panzer IV. And, taking it down a notch, quite literally, here's my early war Panzer III. So you can see it has the 50mm, yes, millimeter, main gun, which is actually a quite small gun later in the war, but early in the war, it was pretty good. They used it up until North Africa when they started running into things like the M4 Sherman, which really just bounced the 50mm rounds quite easily. I reverse engineered part of the chassis off of Battle Brick custom instructions, but besides the parts of the chassis and the suspension, it's basically my own design. You can see turret is quite different from my Panzer IV. You can see there's that nice curvature right there, which is very distinctive of a Panzer III. The tracks have some trouble rolling, which I tend to fix someday, but I'll get around to it. And I'm getting my last German tank. This is one I just updated, so for those of you who've been watching for a while, you'll know I built a Martyr 3 a while back, and you'll also know that it looked like complete trash. Now, I just realized that, and I rebuilt it completely and updated it. And you can see I do have enough room for like an actual crew compartment in the back, unlike my last one. Unlike my last one as well, the gun does elevate up and down. Oh, and fun feature, that also happens. The gun just snaps right off. And I think this is actually a quite more accurate representation. It's larger as well, which, you know, makes it more playable with my other tanks, and makes it fit in with mocks a lot better because you can fit more crew in the fighting compartment, and I just think it looks a lot better. And then down to my German artillery, I'll put these two together. I have my Pack 36 and Pack 40. The Pack 36 is a United Bricks kit, but then the Pack 40 is my own design. They both look quite nice. They're both German anti-tank guns, and that's really all there is to say about those. Now to my German anti-aircraft guns. So here's my first. This is a Flak 37, so it has 4 barrels, and it's really just 4 Flak 37s all strapped up to each other. and it's a 40mm anti-aircraft gun. So yeah, this is also, I believe, a combat Brit kit. And then my very, very last German vehicle is my new and improved Flak 36. Now, I can't really get the whole barrel in the shot, so I'll just bring it down like this. For those of you who are wondering, I did get it to finally be able to traverse on this trailer. Sorry, 1 second. Part of it is starting to fall off. I did get it to traverse on this trailer. The gun barrel does go up and down, and yeah, I just updated it very slightly. I still have a connection point for my Kuba wagon, which unfortunately I did destroy because I really didn't like the looks of it. But that's about it for all my vehicles. So if you guys enjoy these vehicles, and if you guys want more vehicles, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time.